The day I hear that Call of Duty Infinite Warfare is a good game, I'm packing my bags and running my Fallout shelter, because when this game dropped in November of 2016, God I'm old, it was met with some pretty lukewarm reviews. Even during the game's promotional period, Infinite Warfare's reveal trailer was one of the most disliked videos in YouTube history, where it currently sits at the time of this video between Rebecca Black's Friday and Coco Melon's nursery rhymes Yes Yes Vegetables. So it's safe to say once the game dropped and got the reviews it got, it wasn't all that surprising. So why was Infinite Warfare so bad? I think it's a combination of things. One being at this point people were pretty worn out with the whole jetpack advanced movement system thing, and seeing as they basically took that system and the franchise to space, it really made this meme even more of a reality. Another thing was the fact that Modern Warfare Remastered was bundled as a pre-order bonus, meaning if you didn't pre-order Infinite Warfare, you weren't getting the remaster to one of the greatest Call of Duty titles of all time. Well, until it was released later on, but the impatient people had to pay the price. Lastly, I just feel like the entire game was just a disaster. Like, you have a story that's big villain is Jon Snow that exudes you turn her against me energy, a protagonist who's an absolute idiot and constantly puts the lives of his troops at risk while preaching how important it is to bring everyone back alive. Spoilers, by the way, everyone dies. Yup, literally everyone dies, and kind of needlessly if you ask me, and they all seem to die in a way that perfectly fits with the Seinfeld outro music.
It's good to be in a fight with you, sir.
Speaking of characters, they're all pretty unlikable, except for Ethan, who's a robot that has feelings. I will say his most unlikable feature is the fact that he constantly tells jokes that seem to fit perfectly with an awkward laugh track.
Look like you can kick some serious ass.
Well, now you're just making me blush, sir.
Other than that, you'll find him to be your favorite character, as he seems to just bring some sort of heart to an otherwise heartless campaign. The story's pretty bland as an overall, with Captain Idiot and his band of rejects fighting John Frost and the Space Nazis. The player will explore new planets and complete missions in order to end Kit Harington's couple hours of tyranny on the Milky Way, and while the story comes up short much like Aaron Rodgers during a playoff game, it contains extremely fun gameplay and some of the best level design in Call of Duty to date. Being able to hop into your Jackal and get into dog fights over areas such as Uranus adds a fun and exciting level of gameplay that I feel like is pretty absent from its predecessors. And as you progress, you get to experience new worlds that you've only heard about in your astronomy class, and each one just gets more and more beautiful. As for the zombies, the base game comes with Zombies in Spaceland, a more 80s looking aesthetic that steps away from the traditional darker tone experiences. Personally, I think it's fine. What it does isn't anything special. The map is fun to explore, and it can be pretty fun, and the fact that it has David Hasselhoff really earned some brownie points with me, because what a handsome fellow he is. And moving on to the only thing that anyone really cares about when it comes to Call of Duty is the multiplayer. Infinite Warfare's multiplayer is just basically Black Ops 3 multiplayer, except it just somehow feels more stiff and clunky, and they seem to also make the switch from specialists to something called rigs. Rigs are basically just specialists, but there's less of them in comparison to the specialists, and each rig has 3 payloads and 3 traits. Payloads are basically just an offensive way to play the game. Traits are something that just helps boost your overall, like, your speed. The game comes with a quartermaster, which basically means it has a supply drop system, which isn't terrible. You can kind of just build your way to certain prototypes or variants of weapons, so I guess it's somewhat balanced, but there are still some that are locked behind paywalls. The same thing also goes with kill streaks. I don't know why this system ever existed. I think it's a broken system when they do this, but the variations of kill streaks and weapons really does not do well with the overall balancing of the game. Having gone back to Infinite Warfare in 2023, I feel like the game is pretty much all over the place. Elements of the campaign are pretty fun, but the overall story is lacking with any real character depth. The zombies is serviceable, but the multiplayer by design has a little bit of everything to just not piss players off, but to keep them engaged at the same time. I think the campaign tries to be really hardcore and really tries to tell a really deep story, but flops like a fish. While as the multiplayer, I think is pretty hyper aware of what it is and just being a really silly experience with a bunch of different cosmetics, but it also seems to try really hard to be kind of serious at the same time, which is very odd. But in 2023, that doesn't mean Infinite Warfare doesn't have other issues. I mean, it seems like a couple that I've experienced is like, one, my FOV for some reason on my gun basically puts it through my eyeball here and there. I've had that issue. And also, and more often than not, I get kicked out of lobbies, which is kind of annoying, so then I have to constantly go back in and then look for another match. But the servers are pretty populated, so you're not having to wait that long. But if you're someone that didn't enjoy the advanced movement system at all, then I don't recommend this game to you. I think it's a game that you're going to just deeply hate, and if you are going to try to play the advanced movement system, play Black Ops 3. I think it's a lot better. It feels more well-polished. With that being said, Infinite Warfare, I think as a whole, is a 6 out of 10. I think it's a little bit better than what I remember, but it's still okay.
Good day, fleshy mammals.